What's up, BookTube? All right, so my question to you is: Are you a journey type person, or are you a destination type person? Because if you are a journey type person, you will probably love A Song of Ice and Fire. You will love it because of all the mystery, of all the happenings that have occurred, all the different little storylines that go every which way. You will love that. You will love the aspect of that. The mystery of what could be and what still can be, and all of that. You will love that world. But if you're somebody like me, who the destination matters, the destination matters to me, because I have read so many great series for them to, at the very end, just basically, if I'm just being blunt, crap the bed. And then everything that you've read before then feels like a complete and total waste of time. Now, do you leave those books and go, you know what? Everything was, this book is so great. Let's just say it's just one single book. Just add one single book. Don't even add series to it. One single book. It's great. 3/4 all the way through. Very end. Complete worst ending imaginable. Do you go to other people and do you say, I recommend this book? The journey is great. The ending is awful. Most people don't do that. Most people will not recommend that because they have a bad taste in their mouth. They don't want other people to get a bad taste in their mouth. Now, as someone who has got into fantasy in the last year and a half, basically, I went from reading nothing but Lord of the Rings and the Dresden Files and Harry Potter to, reading, Bloodsworn Trilogy and, the First Law and all these different series. I've read all of them. And I've found some amazing series. And I've found some amazing series that are finished. And I can say without a doubt, and I can recommend without a doubt, those books to other people. Now, I guess this is where I'm coming from when it comes to this. I see so many booktubers put A Song of Ice and Fire on their all-time greatest book series. And I think to myself, all power to you. If that's the way you feel, all power to you. I don't got anything wrong with that. Except the fact of, really, it's the greatest series of all time. That would be like, well, you know what? You're watching a television show. It stops at a cliffhanger halfway through. And then you're like, well, that was the best thing I've ever watched. It will be my all-time favorite, and it will forever be unfinished halfway through. I don't know if I consider that to be, even if it was the greatest thing I've ever read in my life, to be up there like number one on a lot of people's lists. I wouldn't consider it that way. And the reason why is because there's so many great works where author has literally spent his time and his effort to complete these works. And then you're looking at these authors that have really, they've fought the good fight. They made it to the very end. They've fulfilled their part to the readers. Where this other one's like, I'm just gonna leave this on a cliffhanger, and then I'm going to, I don't know, tell you you're a terrible person for nagging me because I want to go off and do other things in this book series. I feel like that's where my personal problem with George R. Martin really comes in to play. Is if George R. Martin was like, you know what, I'm working on it. I'm going to give y'all updates. I'm trying to be good faith here. But instead, he does the Rothfuss kind of way about him. Or maybe the Rothfuss does the Martin way. I don't know. And just basically gives a big, middle finger to the fans and is like, well, you're terrible because you're nagging me. You're wanting to know my story, and I don't want to give it to you. I kind of feel like from an author and a consumer, a reader, I guess you could say, the reader agrees to read the books, but the author has to then, in turn, do his part to fulfill his obligation to the reader in so many different ways. That's just my personal opinion on that one. I feel as though George R. R. Martin hasn't upheld his end of the bargain. Now, for whatever reason George R. R. Martin has done this, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I just feel like the man wrote himself into a corner and then probably couldn't figure out a way out. I think he got scared by the end of Game of Thrones. When people didn't like the end of Game of Thrones, and if you remember, he come out and said, well, that's going to be my ending, or close to it, my ending. And then people were like, that was the worst thing ever. He's like, uh-oh, I've wrote all of this. They're not going to like my work. I think he's afraid of crapping the bed. I think that really truly is, because so many people want to put him up there with Tolkien. They want to put him on this Mount Rushmore of this, with this unfinished work. They want to put him up there with the big boys, and he wants to be considered up there with the big boys, but he doesn't want to finish the work to do it. Now back to my personal feelings when it comes to booktubers recommending this. And this is my rant on it. I personally kind of feel like a new person to fantasy. And to most of y'all, I probably am a new person to fantasy because I haven't spent my life in it. I didn't grow up reading it too much. But overall, I feel like it does a disservice to readers. It could, in a lot of ways, turn readers off of fantasy. That's my personal view of it. It could turn readers off of fantasy if they go so far into this story and then it gets no ending. Imagine if you're reading, I don't know, Rothfuss and George R. R. Martin all at the same time, and then you read one series back to back and you're like, well, is this what this is all about? Am I always going to have to deal with canceled TV programs, basically? That's the equivalent of it, right? That's the way it feels. I guess it just all goes back to the whole thing. Are you a journey type person? Or are you a destination like person? I just feel like when it talks about the greatest series of all time, I just personally kind of feel like even if you haven't read that series fully, you can put it on that list. But when you're dealing with ones that probably will never get finished, it's hard for me to put George R. R. Martin up there with the big boys. It really truly is for me. Now you can come to me and you can say, well, Brett, you read his stuff for the character work, for the craft, for the story, the mystery of what could be, and then you just leave it up to your imagination. Well, you know what, the way I kind of feel it, I could have used my imagination long before George R. R. Martin come along. I could, because if I'm having to do his work for him by speculating about how things are going to turn out, I feel like he's wasting my time. That's just me. That's how I personally feel with this. So my rant of the day is not necessarily a rant as much as it's a rant if you agree with me and you are a destination type person, and it's probably very annoying to people who are a journey like person that they're like, well, that's my greatest series here. Well, you think it's your greatest series because it's halfway through. So, come to me 10 years from now if it is through, and then tell me it's your greatest series. That's the way I look at it. But overall, let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what kind of readers y'all are. Are y'all a journey type people? Is the craft matter? Does the character work matter? Does the conclusion not matter? I will just always at the end say, I rarely hear anybody recommend a book series or a book in general or a movie that has a terrible ending, because the last thing that you remember is the ending. So it can be brilliant up to that point, and you'll still be like, no, I don't like this. This wasn't as good as I expected it to be. That's why George R. R. Martin, I believe, hasn't finished his work, is because he's afraid of crapping the bed. Let me know in the comments down below what y'all think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? As always, guys, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.